on location today. We're going to do a fit up of our new prototype Flywheel 2013 Mustang with a Magnum XL and one of our twin disc clutch kits. So this is good for about the 1,000 foot-pound range at the crank. It's our sprung hub disc, so it'll be fairly quiet. We got some cushion in the disc, so it'll drive nice. So a great first step, put the bolts through the flywheel before you install it. A lot of times you just don't have room in there to do so, and it just makes your life a lot easier. Liz keeping score. Oh, it's that little luck tape. Sometimes a little luck on our bolt. Tub of towels. Good for whatever ails you. So like any other install, we're gonna go ahead and torque our flywheel down. This one's spec falls between 80 and 85 foot-pounds, so we'll crank it down a cent. Okay, so we're gonna start assembling the clutch. And if you guys will notice, we've marked the disc's pressure plate side in the ultra manly pink logo and the flywheel side with the green logo. And that way you can orient the discs correctly, because you'll notice the disc does have an offset with these sprung hubs, and we have to make sure we get the right clearance in the clutch. Otherwise it's gonna bind and it's not gonna work. So you'll find out real quick if you didn't do it right, but the sticker should help you get it aligned exactly where it needs to go. Okay, so we're gonna take the first measurement of checking out the compression we have on our slave. A lot of times we'll be in the shop and we'll have to find whatever straight edge we can use to work. What I found is really helpful is if you can find something that's a common measurement, 1 inch, ½ inch, 375, find that piece and mark the side that you're going to use to measure. And that way you're always going to be consistent and you'll always know the amount of thickness on the straight edge you need to subtract to get your measurements accurate. And what I'll usually do is I can come around with either my dial calipers, my digital calipers, or even just like a combination square. We'll come in just like this. And we know that's 320 minus the ½ inch of our straight edge.
Geoff, what are you doing over there?
Oh, yeah, look, I like to draw it out sometimes. Just some final cap.
The back's...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my happy place.
SS clutch?
Of course. Okay, so we've taken our measurements. I'll try to lay out kind of what we've done here. So the first measurement we took was our bearing location in reference to where it's going to mount up on the block, and that came out to be about 271. Over our clutch side, we got our finger height measurement, 450, and we measured from the flat on the cover back to the block. That's the same place where the bell housing is going to mount up. 5389. Subtracted those two, and we get our 2939. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to subtract the hydraulic bearing number away from the block number right over here. We get a compression on that bearing of about 229. Okay, so looking at the spacers I brought with me, we've got a 375 spacer. I'm doing a rough math. If we take the 229 that we knew we had as the previous difference, we add that 375 to it, gets us to 604, which is pretty darn good. 4 thousandths over our range is not going to hurt anything. We're going to run this spacer and we should be good to go. Well, and this segment of the video is brought to you by Motoyo, the calipers that bounce.
Want to shoot a quick video here to explain when we take the measurements for the compression on the slave, what we're actually doing, show that a little more clear. So this first measurement, we're going to go from the block, or more likely the block plate, out to our red cover. We're going to go down from that red cover to the fingers right here. And we're going to compare that same measurement on the transmission side. You go from this flange that mounts up here to that block plate, down to the face of that bearing. Now that number is going to come up to be less than this number here, because we want that bearing to hit those fingers. We want it to compress about a ½ inch to 625-ish, maybe a little bit more. These OE bearings that have the spring and the green boot, always going to be compressed. We want to make sure we get that compression so we don't pop it off of there the first time you step on the pedal. So like I said, this C number will be less. it will contact those fingers about a half an inch, 625, before this trans is drawn all the way up to your block plate. So I hope that makes sense. We'll do another video to show how to measure it with a separate bell housing and transmission, but this should help out, should make it a little more clear.
All right, so this is gonna be the first of the hydraulic bearing tips and tricks I'm gonna give in this video to make your life a lot easier. So what we're gonna do is we're going to bench bleed or pre-fill this master cylinder, or the slave cylinder, before we put it in the car. What this does is this makes sure that all the air is out of this slave before you put it in, and then you're stuck trying to pump it and get it out of there. So we're gonna fill a cup with fluid, and we're gonna take the cap off of our hydraulic bearing itself, and we're gonna squeeze it a couple times, and you'll see air will come out, fluid will go in. And that way you know that this thing is ready to go, and it should be ready to actuate the clutch almost on the first pump. Minimal setup. All right, we've checked all our measurements. About the final step we're gonna do is we're gonna put our lock washers on. Now, these are kind of a one-time use only, so I recommend checking all your numbers with just the flat washers on, and then when you're sure you're good to go, put the lock washers on, and you can torque these guys down to 25 foot-pounds, and you're good to go. So I've left the transmission installed to the true professionals. They're gonna put that in, button things up. We're actually gonna put just a couple bolts in it, throw it in fourth gear, and we're gonna try it to make sure our clutch is releasing. We can find our bite point and just make sure that everything is in there the way that we want. So another great trick with any of these single line slaves, when you guys get the transmission just about to go in, maybe that last 3/4 of an inch, go ahead and plug your feed line in, the line going up to the reservoir, and that way when you draw the transmission up, the bearing will compress, and any air that is in this line will go right up the line into the reservoir, and this thing should be good to go on the very first pump of the pedal.
Alright guys, we've got our install complete. We're out doing some break-in with the car. This is our customer Ray, who was kind or foolish enough to let us put the clutch in his car. We're just going to do some maneuverability here in the parking lot. I want to highlight, hopefully, how nice our clutch actually drives as well as performs. So, you got a couple minutes on it. What do you think?
I love it.
Oh, sure. Alright. And I only had to pay him $900 American to say that. But yeah, we're just going to shoot some video, see what you guys think. So go ahead, Ray, do what you do.